It's time for Twig This Week in Google, episode 27 coming up. Jeff Jarvis has the scoop from Davos. We've got the inside story on the Google Books deal, round 2. And we analyze the iPad threat to content. It's all coming up with This Week in Google.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 27 for January 31st, 2010. Male, female, or Cylon? This Week in Google is brought to you by GoToAssist Express, the easy way to provide instant tech support to your customers remotely. Support smarter with GoToAssist Express. For a free 30-day trial, go to gotoassist.com/twig. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google, the show that covers Google and the cloud. And joining us now from not quite the cloud, but the very snowy environs of Davos, Switzerland. No, Davos is not the town. Or is it?
It is. That's the town.
Jeff Jarvis. You're there because you're the world-famous Jeff Jarvis, host of This Week in Google, right?
That's right, of course. How could they have... I won the lottery among the three of us, didn't I?
And for those of you watching on video, Jeff hasn't gone native on us. This is some sort of costume party going on. He's got face paint.
It's South Africa night here. See the little things here?
No.
And so you could go downstairs and get your face painted.
Oh, that's cool.
And
and you're wearing a suit.
I did it for you guys. I did it for you.
It's quite a look.
I wear a tie.
And
here's
face
the
paint.
official badge that gets you into things at Davos.
That's awesome. And
Nice.
it says
That's how they say it here is Davos, right? Clay Shirky was at another event before this last year, and he said, people coming up to me and saying, "Are you going to Davos?" And he said, "Why are they asking me if I'm going to get divorced?"
No, you're in Davos.
Davos.
Davos. Is it a part of the German-speaking area in Switzerland? Yes. Okay.
But it's a kind of German that sounds like nothing on earth to me.
Sounds like Davos. Also with us, Ms. Gina Trapani from smarterware.org and Lifehacker and CompleteWaveGuide.com. Hi, Gina.
Yes, sir.
So we're a little later on. We'll go downstairs with Jeff to see what's going on at South Africa night. Is every night a different night of the week?
No, this is the soiree at the end when we're supposed to dress in tuxedos or native dress. I saw Michael Arrington earlier, and he was in the Native American dress called blue jeans.
That's valid.
Surprising.
That's typical of Mike. He's not going either or. He's doing his, going his own way.
Regards.
Yeah, please do. I got to send him one of these stickers. So while you were in Switzerland, you got to talk to Marissa Meyer, Eric Schmidt, Chad Hurley was there from YouTube.
Yep, and David Drummond and Nikesh Arora.
Wow. What was that?
I managed to luck into it. They had a briefing for a certain select press, and I whined and asked to get into it, and so I did. They had us meet at a cafe up the street from here, and then we walked to the Safe House. It's an apartment that they do up in Google stuff, and so we talked to them there for about a little over an hour.
And how forthcoming were they?
I think fairly forthcoming. It was on the record, though I heard there was some discussion about whether it should have been, but it was. They said clearly, and I think some news came out of it.
You wrote a blog post about it, but here's your chance to talk about it a little bit more detail.
Well, for the rest of the world, I think China was probably the bigger news. But for our end of the world, I thought it was big news that they said that they are now going to consider being transparent about the splits on AdSense.
So why is that an issue?
Well, I was at a conference before this in Munich called DLD, where the head of Burda, which is the largest magazine publisher in Germany, complained to Dave Drummond, the chief counsel of Google, on a panel and the Germans are really going after Google. They're filing suits with the government. They're trying to go after copyright. They're doing all kinds of stuff. They're just whining like crazy. And he said, we want a fair share. And so I asked, a fair share of what? AdSense? And he said, yes, we want transparency and a fair share.
Well, wait a minute. I don't understand. Oh, because we don't. I guess they just pay you what they pay you, and you don't know how much of the total revenue that is.
Right, and Drummond was saying things like there are some people that are up to 80%, and there was catcalling from the audience. Who's that? And so I think that he must have come back, and they're saying that they've been talking about this for a while, but it was convenient that it came right after this German confrontation, and it's a bit of peace there. So I told the German publisher then last night that this had happened, and there were big smiles. So I think the Germans and Google are trying to meet with each other and trying to find some level of peace. But what happened here that's important is that at least this one German publisher put a fence around it, because there's this belief by some that Google owes publishers some of their revenue all around because you have our content. That's rather absurd. And Drummond said, I don't owe you anything for a search where someone comes in and searches for a camera, goes to the store and buys it. You had nothing to do with that. And so
well, that's see. Of course. Why should they get credit for that?
But the publishers are kind of acting like you use our content thus. And of course, you and I, we all know that's dumb, but they don't know it's dumb.
But it's completely reasonable to say, but as a blog publisher, publishers, the two of you probably would agree that if they, pay you $1 for somebody visiting your page, you'd like to know that's $1 out of how much?
Exactly. I mean, the two big complaints I had about Google in my fanboy book were China and lack of transparency about AdSense. So, they've just ticked off two of them, which is kind of cool.
So do they have a time frame for when they might say this?
No, it was very vague. It was we were going to consider it. But you're not going to say we're going to consider it and then say, what, we thought about it and we're not going to.
We considered it and the answer is no.
No, they're not going to do that. So.
But I understand, I understand how, they might not want to tell you what they're getting paid for that ad.
So I haven't run AdSense in years and years. So if you're a web publisher, you run AdSense on your blog, you log into your AdSense dashboard or whatever, and you find out how much Google is paying you, right? But they don't. So it doesn't show you what percentage of what they get paid from advertisers. That's the issue.
Right.
So how did this other person know that someone was getting 80%?
Because Drummond said that some get up to 80%, and some complained about that. And then I saw Drummond here in Davos, and he said, haven't you heard of volume discount? And so I think that to me, I was talking with the publisher today, and I think that if Google releases this, it also creates motivation to try to move up the ladder of share. You get more traffic, more relevance, better performance. Maybe you'll get a higher share.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's how Amazon Associates works. Like, if you the more you can go into a program that's tiered, right, and the more that you sell with your associate ID, the higher percentage that you get.
Right.
But are the Germans have a problem with the ads that Google shows on its results page itself?
Well, that was the thing. This publisher at Berta said AdSense, and I'm not sure he knew what he was talking about, but shh.
Because those are ad words, right? That's the difference.
Right, but I then saw a colleague of mine at The Guardian still complains that Google, takes our content and scrapes our content, and we deserve a share of what they do. Well, no, because then Google would have to pay every website in the world, and you're getting the value, as Eric Schmidt has said more than once now. We send you 4 billion clicks a month. It's up to you to do something about that.
He also said we're going to try to do a better job of, or you ought to do a better job of making your content sticky, and we'd like to do a better job of having that work for you because that helps us.
Right. So Marissa talked about. I asked about what they're going to do about newspapers and the press. And she said it focuses on two things. One is make them money and find more ways to make them more money. And I'll come back to that in 1 second. And the second is trying to improve the form of news and make it more compelling and engaging, because newspaper people aren't making it very engaging. On the ad side, and I frankly didn't fully understand this, but what they said was that their next big push in this world is going to be into display. And they're going to bring the science of Google, they said, to display.
Yeah, I read that on your post, and I don't know what that means. Do you mean the banner ads?
Yeah. And so what they're going to do is
it's so funny to hear them say the next big thing is display when most of the rest of the world is saying, what do we do besides display?
But that's where so much money is branding as opposed to click-through stuff. And what they said was that advertisers now buy sites.
Yes.
And so Google's going to enable them to buy audiences. And I said, well,
they're going to aggregate.
Yeah, they're going to aggregate audience and then give you demographics and stuff. And I said, doesn't that yet again disintermediate the publishers and hurt their branding? Well, basically the answer was, if they make more money, ...
They won't mind.
Yeah.
One of our German listeners in the chat room says Berta is kind of the Rupert Murdoch of Germany, kind of old and out of touch.
Well, actually,
doesn't sound like it. Actually,
no, he tries to be rather hip. They invested in Glam, Etsy, science blogs.
Oh, okay.
They're actually pretty cool.
He asked the right question.
Yeah.
He wanted to know what percentage am I getting?
Yeah, I think transparency was a fair argument to make, but I'm not sure all his fellow publishers agree. But the point is, we're seeing some movement here, and it was neat to see it from one conference to the next. I asked Google people whether this was actually news, and they said, "Yep."
Yeah, that's great. It seems very doable to me. I mean, Amazon does it. You see how much you get a report
exactly,
with everything that people bought, how much it cost, what percentage you got from that. I mean, and it changes depending on how much you sell. It doesn't seem, and this aligns totally with Google's whole transparency, openness, Google dashboard thing, right? I mean, it seems like presenting those numbers is the no-brainer. I'm surprised that they haven't
Gina,
already.
When they started talking about display and how this becomes a platform and network that anyone can use, any site can use, then as I think about it, you mentioned this, it becomes even more important for them to be transparent about that, because if you're going to hand over a big hunk of your ad inventory that you sell, then you damn well better know what the business deal is.
So now, when we say display, are we talking about individual banner ads, or are we talking about like buying the entire page and like filling every ad space with a particular campaign, or even like custom graphics on top of a logo? Are we talking about like branding a whole site, or are we just talking about regular banner ads?
I think we're talking basically about regular banner ads and such, big ass ads as we call them, or other forms. There's a whole bunch of standard forms from the IAB, the Internet Advertising Bureau. I'm sure Google will sell them all, so, they'll be as creative as they can. But basically, I think that might work for a site that says, I have no sales force, monetize me. But for a big brand, they'll give Google their remnant unsold inventory, of which all sites have plenty.
Yes. Yeah, that's what happens at Lifehacker. Lifehacker sells in all the Gawker sites, right? The sales team sells, custom campaigns, some of which includes branding for the whole site, and then remnants are, AdSense and other kind of programmatic banners. But those are just banners or units, versus like kind of big branding thing.
Yeah.
Great, more banner ads. Yay.
So, we love banner ads. Why not?
Before we get to China, some other news from the briefing here in Davos from Google was that they're very proud now of YouTube and say it's making money.
Yeah.
When pressed about the definition of what that means, Schmidt wouldn't say, well, it depends on the accounting rules you use, but he would say which accounting rules.
So you make the point that it could be cash flow or it could be profit, either one.
Right, right. But he praised Chad Hurley for finding the way to have YouTube make money, that he's very happy with it now, that the distribution deals they're doing with big entertainment companies are working. They did a big deal in the UK with channels 4 and 5. Hurley said they have DoubleClick now into YouTube, the ad-serving platform, and they're selling ads on YouTube in 20 countries.
Hold on. Heather Gold is here. Hello, Heather.
Hey, Heather.
Just joined us in studio.
Hi,
Heather.
Gina. Jeff, I barely recognize you because you look so African to me.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
I'll start. The guys downstairs playing drums were incredible.
Oh, that's neat.
So,
that's neat.
Jeff, are those DoubleClick putting in video ads or static ads?
On YouTube, they're.
I think they're just those slide under ads.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any pre or post roll yet, but I mean, I'm sure that they would like to do that. But DoubleClick does serve those ads that come up and sit there and annoy you until you click the X. Those come from DoubleClick.
Yeah, and they're based on the tags with the video.
They seem to have some relationship to something.
Because there's a lot
description,
of
caption
stuff on YouTube. I mean, it means that whoever's advertising there is getting a lot of stuff they may not. I mean, for example, today I went to try to research some stuff, Gina, for the show, and I went to my YouTube account, And the latest comment on one of my videos is you should have acid thrown in your face.
Great.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
There happens to be no way to report that person. And so, you could be advertising on that. That's always fun, like a little homophobic terror.
I doubt it's comments. I would imagine that it's title, tags, caption, and those things are all description. Those things are all required, right, when you upload a YouTube video?
But this is historic.
But you can't control what it's. I mean, just given the tenor of a lot of what's on YouTube, it seems like a bit of an like. I can understand if they.
It's historically the big problem with this kind of advertising, to be honest. Is it,
on YouTube in particular.
In YouTube, MySpace, it was a big problem, is that you just don't know where what your ad is going to be on. And I think there's a lot of resistance from advertisers. And the ones I've talked to say that these ads are not effective either, that they're
Right.
probably as ineffective as other display ads.
Yeah,
You know how they're effective? People reach to close them and miss the
Accidentally
X
click.
and click on them.
I think
and then it looks like they got clicks. That's how effective they are.
You hit the nail on the head. That's
exactly right. You got it.
That's when it's happening, is there as people are click
Just
to
like
close.
that flyover BS, which I can't stand. They're just like, they're so effective. It's like, no, that's people trying to close them. That's people trying to, like, not understanding what's happening.
We had Jacob Nielsen, the usability expert on Net at Night on Tuesday, and they do the eye tracking stuff. And he said that the most effective advertising, his new book on eye tracking the web says the most effective advertising is text. Google AdSense style text.
And how's he judging effectiveness based on whether you like it or you click on it?
Whether you notice it. He said, well, to give him the full quote, text and cleavage. But if you look on the, I'm sorry, but that's.
Text in the cleavage?
No, not text in the cleavage. Well, I don't think they tested that. So the idea is what they do is they test hotspots on the page where people are reading and looking. And so they can see that you are reading. The display ads get completely ignored.
I think you've just saved the ad industry and the media industry all at once.
Text and cleavage, everyone.
Well, Hollywood's known about the latter for a long time. I remember on the Screensavers, we had a Hollywood producer come in and said, what's missing on this show?
Cleavage? I brought cleavage today.
Thank you. You don't have to display it. You just have it.
Sorry,
That's the beauty of it.
Put an ad on that, Leo?
No. But if you look at Facebook, what do you see on the right? Maybe you guys don't see it, but on my Facebook, that's what's always on the right is there's a text ad and there's cleavage. Always. Yeah, I'll go there right now.
Generally. Well, because you're a guy. If you're a woman, you don't get as much cleavage.
Is that the case?
Yes, because they're trying to give you things. I get crazy stuff that I would never be interested in, but they try.
They're trying.
That I want something pink.
Really?
Stuff like that.
You get more pink ads?
I totally get pink ads.
That's interesting.
And they try to pull you stuff that I guess people that you're really connected to somehow they've decided are endorsing companies, which I don't understand that.
Oh, I really hate that.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe some of the people I know. They're like, I want to call my friends and say, what did you do that has Facebook saying you endorse this company or this ad?
In any event, it's interesting that Google, after all of that, after all we know about what seems to work on the internet, is saying display ads are the next big thing. I wonder if that's a little disingenuous. Isn't there a lot of pressure on them to say that YouTube is not draining the company dry, Jeff?
Oh yeah, I think these are two separate things. The display ad thing is them trying to give more money to publishers and get more inventory from publishers and more information. I think on YouTube you're exactly right. And you know what? If it's a stop of drainage, that's fine. As we had the discussion in the earlier show, that maybe it doesn't actually cost them as much as we think.
Right.
And they didn't want anybody else to own video. So, what he's saying is there's profound progress at YouTube, and I think that's something.
Also, word on the new Google Books settlement, the new one, because the first one got trashed mostly because the DOJ said it's probably illegal. And yesterday was the last day for comments on the new proposed settlement, according to an article in Ars Technica on their Law and Disorder blog. Pretty much the same suspects filed pretty much the same objections to the new Google proposals. Ursula K. Le Guin organized 350 authors who objected to the fact that the agreement would apply to anyone who didn't opt out. She said it should be opt-in, not opt-out, and that it's a change in copyright policy. The estate of Richard Wright weighed in as well in what Ars Technica called a diatribe.
An estate had a diatribe?
The estate was diatribing.
It's like from the grave?
I don't know. Well, maybe his heirs are very defensive of his stuff.
I think that J.D. Salinger's lost book should now appear only on Google.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
One of the changes, this is really goofy. One of the changes Google proposed, Google will help set book prices by, this is an engineer, boy, engineers figured this out. Help set book prices by developing an algorithm that simulates what the prices would be if there were competitive market conditions. Amazon said, well, that's price fixing by a computer instead of a human. What's the difference? The claim, Amazon says, that this is acceptable or well-intentioned price fixing because it will supposedly mimic the market does nothing to save the revised agreement. It also argued that some of the changes only cover direct-to-consumer sales and keep exclusive arrangements in place for subscription and institutional services, basically the same. Internet Archive had the same objections. Public Knowledge objected. I don't know if this book deal is going to ever go. I really don't.
So, Jeff, if you could orchestrate it the way you wanted it, what do you think it should be?
The book deal?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, you're making me think. It's late at night here.
Sorry.
I think this is, boy, greater minds than ours have attempted for years to figure this out and with no success. So, Jeff, if you can't figure it out in 1 minute at Davos, I don't blame you.
Well, but this is the place for diplomacy and solutions to all the world's problems. I think what we got to do is put the fence around the real issue, which is the orphan works, and leave those aside and give control to this, which basically already exists, to rights holders, whether that's the writer or the publisher, and get on with it. And then we can it's like the health bill. We can mop up the details later, but stopping the digitization of books and the benefits that come from that, I think, is criminal.
It does seem to be that the orphan works are the chief area, although Google still would have, according to the Ars report, a significant degree of control over the future market for digitized works, essentially asserting that they're the ones who get to sell them once they digitize them.
The orphan works.
Well, is it only orphan works? I guess so. If they're not orphan, then the rights holder.
Otherwise, the rights holder has the rights.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
it's also...
For some reason, this reminds me of a Whoopi Goldberg movie I once saw. Really bad one, Jumpin' Jack Flash, where the evil person's plan was that they'd found a way to take everyone's like half cents or somehow in their bank accounts and sucked all of them up and became
same plot point was used in Office Space and Superman 3.
Really? I'm sure it's got to be in 10 other films.
It's a great plot point.
Army can find, but it's like someone said that I know, I'll build an internet company on that. Yes.
We will take the crumbs. Yeah, well, anyway, it's just so there's an update on the. I was asking this last week. What's the story with the Google book deal? And it is now, of course, in the hands of the judge. But it sounds like the same exact objections. And the DOJ weighed in again, saying this would change copyright law. So you got to think the judge is just going to say, well, I don't know. What's the judge going to say? We asked you to go back.
They don't like to change things.
No, not copyright law. Not in a civil suit. It's kind of anathema.
Well, yeah, and it is a problem. Like in Germany, the publishers are hiding behind the skirts of Chancellor Angela Merkel, asking to change copyright law for their benefit. The copyright's screwed up, but if we start, mucking around with the law, you may need to do that, but bad things can happen then. It gets out of control. You never know what's going to happen in the legislative process.
So the YouTube page has been redesigned. Anybody notice that? I don't.
Yes.
I don't like it. I can't do full screen as easily as I used to be able to.
Why? Why can't you do it as easily?
Is it just me, or is there no longer a full screen button on the darn thing?
There's a full screen button.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, maybe it's just me.
That changed.
Well, wait, well,
you mean that thing with the four arrows?
The 4 arrows?
You press the 4 arrows.
Yeah, okay, it is on some. I guess not on all videos then.
Did they add this little? What is this little two-way arrow thing? Is that new?
That's what I saw. On some pages, I only see that, and then it's a pop out.
Middle deal.
Yeah, I don't like the middle deal.
I
don't see the 4-corner one on all my pages.
Are they doing the 4 corners only on HD or?
I don't know.
I have to say, it doesn't. I don't know what the difference is, but they don't all have it sometimes.
Like here, okay, I'm looking at a page right now. Here, I'll put it up on the screen. Let me play with the settings here briefly so I can get it up on the screen for you. Take it out of double box. And this is, I don't know why, for some reason, this video, see, is like a lot of them. It doesn't have that pop-out box anymore. It just has this arrow thing. Watch this video in a new window. And then when I do that, then I think usually I get the four-corner pop-out. Yeah, see, now I can go full screen. But I have to, it's 2 clicks now.
2 clicks.
But that's not on every page. A lot of these pages don't have this. They just have the simplified player bar. I can't figure it out. And then I've got the HTML5 thing going on.
And how's that changing it?
Well, I'm no longer using Flash, so maybe that's what's changed.
That might be it, because I keep clicking and I can't find.
You get it. Okay, so maybe it's because I went to HTML5.
Hey, is this camera
You have an option to do that?
Yes, that's kind of a neat new thing.
It lets you set the precedent, the preference.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't know
so
that.
So if you Google YouTube HTML5, then you'll go to youtube.com/HTML5, and then you can say, I want to enter the HTML5 beta. And then I guess in some cases, maybe that's why I get a full screen is when you do a pop-out, then it suddenly goes to Flash, and now I can go full screen, because apparently HTML5 doesn't have full screen.
Well, if you had an iPad, it would just be
sense.
full screen.
Okay, you said the I word, and now we got to talk about it.
Now we got to talk about it. All right, we got to talk about it. It was inevitable.
Did you notice that we've gone a full half hour and we haven't mentioned
I
it?
knew you hadn't, because I looked at Gina's links. I was like, she's trying to not, because you go there.
No, let's go there. But before we do, let's do a commercial.
I want an iKeeper alternative and an iPawn.
Okay.
Sorry, Jeff. Jeff's looking like, what?
What? All the guys
just zonked.
An iPod.
Jeff looks like he should be in Twilight.
I can sleep.
You look like you should be in Twilight.
Avatar,
maybe. Are you blue?
Well, no, I'm happy.
Let me quickly do a commercial for Go to Assist Express, and we'll come back, give you a chance to gird your loins for an iPad discussion. Gina got it. So Go to Assist Express, my friends, is the great tool created by the folks at Citrix, who are experts in remote access, designed specifically for folks in IT and support. I've been using Go to Assist since 2000, 2001. We're on the screensavers. We used to use it all the time. It's easy for you, easy for your customers. That's important. And it's very, very effective. Here's the deal. Even if your customer doesn't have it installed, all you have to do is send them a link. They go to gotoassist.com. Quick 30-second download, usually less if they have high speed. And now you're able to work on their computer, even if they're not there. They can give you unattended access. You can have 8 sessions at once, so you can start and install, move to the next one, the next one. It is really designed for the support professional. It gives you a list of running programs, including the operating system and any security software running, so you know what you're working on. You know what the problems are. You know if there's spyware running. You can copy files from your computer if you've got patches or fixes over to theirs. I can go on and on. I want you to try it free for 30 days. If you're in the support business, maybe you're in IT or you have software that you support, you really ought to know about this one. Go to Assist Express, the new online tech support service from Citrix. It is fantastic. Try it free right now. Go to gotoassist.com/twig. gotoassist.com/TWIG. And you can be using Go to Assist in the next 5 minutes. They have a day pass. Try it for free for 30 days, but they have a day pass for if you do occasional support, that kind of thing with family and friends.
Like a spa.
Yes, it's like a spa.
That's how I like to think of it.
Day pass.
Doesn't that make it sound nice?
It's like a spa.
You get a robe.
So speaking of spas,
yes.
How's that? How's that for cool?
Oh, very cool.
Is it super swank there?
To saunas now.
Say again?
I'm addicted to the sauna.
And you're not even in Finland.
Saunas are awesome.
And down here in Davos, it's magnificent.
Well, it's good when it's really cold.
One I've been going the last 2 days, it's a cabin outside the hotel. You walk through the snow to the sauna.
Jeff, is everything like paved in gold? Do you feel like you're in the middle of the center of the little, star chamber that runs the world?
The hotels are all sucky.
Really?
They're awful. Oh, yeah, they're terrible. They're terrible. It's summer camp for moguls.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I've noticed that about rich people. I went up to the Bohemian Grove. Somehow the richer
you
they...
went to the Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, and somehow
now we need to spend the rest of the show on that.
The richer they are, the more down market they like it.
Seriously?
I peed on a tree.
You did?
Sure.
Do you feel closer to Kissinger?
Well, he wasn't there at the time.
No,
but
you didn't cross streams?
You know, it's funny. No, I didn't. But even at the Bohemian Grove, the George Shultz Kissinger types have a removed cabin distant from the rest of the...
And is their cabin really all that different?
No, and that's
like
the thing. It's rustic. No, it's rustic, and that's the whole point.
Is this kind of Burning Man for old farts?
Yeah, when rich, really, really rich and powerful guys get together, it's the same.
Okay, that is proof that the really rich and powerful people are wasps.
They are wasps. They're wasps. That's exactly right.
I am Googling Bohemian Grove right now.
Oh, you never heard of it?
Bohemian Grove is this creepy little place.
I'm not old and rich and powerful, clearly.
Here's the deal, Gina. They don't let women go, so, except prostitutes they bring up. So it's a place...
Just for the record, I saw no prostitutes.
A little bit north, well, female anyone. Little bit north of San Francisco. It's connected to the Bohemian Club, which is in San Francisco.
Very nice gentleman's club in San Francisco.
Started years ago by journalists and artists, but it's not that bohemian because it's mostly now George Shultz and Kissinger, and they all kind of get together and conspiracy theorists go like bazooka with this thing. Like,
yeah, there's
Gina,
nothing going on. I could tell you
if you start Googling, it'll be like, there's a ritual with a giant owl, and the demons come out at midnight, and they all have group sex with a twig. Like, the people think that that's how the world's getting run.
It's not.
It's not.
Fascinating.
But it is a time where a lot of really powerful people from...
If there's a complaint about it, it's that they have access to each other in a way that we don't because they get together. But they have that no matter what, in their private jets, at Davos, wherever they are.
It's ritualized, and I think that creeps people out. Because I know I know you dropped out, Leo, but I stayed at Yale long enough to witness the,
Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones. The boyfriend, yes, I had a boyfriend, was in Wolf's Head, and I went into one of the,
I've been in there, too.
You've been in there.
It's BS.
Yeah, but they have some creepiness.
Oh, they make up stuff so people get, like, it's to totally give people the sense of that they are somehow magical.
They're trying to feel safe.
They're trying to feel special.
They need magic bones and stuff.
And it's the same BS. They're just like you and me. There's no power.
More scared. They're just more
They're
scared.
more scared.
That's why they need the sarcophagus and the bones and
that's what I see here at Davos is what's here are the powerful who are all being disrupted.
Yeah, they're scared for real.
Really?
Yeah. I did a session yesterday. I led one on transparency in international organizations, and that ain't coming soon. Bankers, governments, whatever, media companies, the powerful are here, but they're not going to be powerful for long.
But I feel like Apple chose the name iPad at one of these camp things.
There were no girls, that's for sure.
I'm sure this is what happened. There were no women.
There were no ladies there.
Maybe it happened at Bohemian Grove.
Could very well be. Could very well be. All right.
Okay, you wanted to talk about the iPad? Or
no,
is it,
you were the one who dropped
to
that.
I know that people are. I mean, it might not be technical enough.
I think iPad is appropriate because it's kind of a cloud device. It's certainly aimed at the Kindle, in my opinion.
And the netbook.
No.
No, you don't think it's aimed at netbooks?
No, I think it's very precisely not aimed at netbooks because if for half the money you could get something that has a camera, flash, multitasking, all the things that people want, and a keyboard, all the things people complained about. Now I know that Steve mentioned the netbook, but I think really it's aimed at the Kindle. It's a Kindle Plus.
Well, is that because you think of the kind of person who wants a netbook as someone who might really program or use it in a more serious way? Because a lot of the netbooks are aimed, at least as far as I understand, in Europe, and this is mostly from Clive Thompson telling me this, that those devices are aimed at trying to make the computer more like the phone so that the device costs very little so that you're really sucked into the ongoing data plans.
If that's the case, then Apple did a better job than whoever's designing the netbooks. The netbooks are just little laptops,
right? Underpowered
laptops that are really cheap, and they sell well,
right? Because
they're really cheap. But I don't think that's what Apple should be going after. To me, it's a content device, so having a camera doesn't make a lot of sense. In fact, I don't even understand why they had a keyboard extension on it. But I'm curious if in Davos people are talking about it, because I would think if I were, creating magazines or newspapers, I'd be very interested in this device.
Oh yeah, a lot of publishers came by acting as if it was going to be the Messiah, and when it wasn't, they still had hope. The publisher of the New York Times is here. I talked to a lot of German publishers and UK and American publishers. One of the publishers came by and he said, "Oh yes, finally we can go like this again." right? We can move the pages. And I said, sorry, but serial media is over. Serial media is gone. The link.
Yeah, but there is something to be said for skimming. You think skimming's dead?
No, but I think
so this is a great skimming device. This is a device.
That's finally up. And you can skim most anything. But I think what they really want.
Well, you can't skim on the Kindle. You cannot skim on the Kindle. Kindle's a crappy skimming device.
But what they really want is something that regains their control over our experience.
Well, that's not going to happen.
And no, that's not. And that's
although Apple's trying, you know, the fact that Apple has made this ecosystem where really most of the time you don't look at stuff on web pages. The New York Times will have a New York Times button, right? A New York Times icon, and a New York Times application where they control the interface and all of that stuff. Ultimately, you and I both know they're going to have to do it on a web page if they want to make it. But the iPad gives them a way to make it a button. And I'll tell you, as Twit, that's the only way we can do it because it doesn't support Flash. So what we will do is have an HTML5 style application that has video and audio in the chat room. And it's going to be an excellent experience for anybody who wants to consume our content live or on demand. And I think that a lot of content creators, if they're creative, will think of ways to make this a very powerful platform for them.
I think it's exciting for creators.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean,
what's the total penetration this thing could possibly be? How many units could
according to
really...
TechCrunch, and I don't know if Mike knows something or is BSing as often as the case, but he says 3 million Kindles have been sold in 2 years. That's not very many. I think that, and how many iPhones? 75 million iPhones in 3 years. I think you're much closer to the iPhone end of the scale than it is the Kindle's end of the scale. If you could sell, I think they'll sell 5 million in the first year. They'll sell 10 in the second, 30 in the third. That's a pretty powerful platform.
That's no salvation.
Well,
it's powerful, but it's not a salvation.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Jeff, isn't there are two things? There's their actual business that could be in terms of wanting that saved, and then there's the way life works as I know it being saved, and as you've been such an eloquent spokesperson for it, that's been over a long time. But in a way, I read a really nice little piece that Gruber linked off to. I added it up there, Gina, by Fraser Spears. The same thing's kind of happening for a lot of geeks, too, in the sense that the web is hitting a place, to some degree, not everywhere, it's big enough to do everything, where the experience, say, on this device is, I mean, it's not as geeky. It doesn't give you all that control you talked about, Leo. And so, and same thing, post-social media, there's going to be a way in which people will experience it that talks about the touch points the entertainment publishing business works on, emotion and feeling and connection, and comes, you know, from that human experience down as opposed to from the code experience up. And I think that is disconcerting for a lot of geeks. And I agree with this piece by Spears that that's one of the reasons people online have been a little wonky about
people are very upset about it. It's as if there's two groups of people. There's people who had such high hopes for it that it couldn't live up to them. They didn't get the unicorn and pixie dust that they were counting on.
Right.
And then there's people who hate Apple and just kind of hate the idea of a closed box, which it is, and are saying, well, it's too closed.
But Spears is saying it's people who are doing the opposite thing what Jeff's saying the publishers are doing, which is they liked the world in a way the way it was. Geeks feel like you got to go through us because we make this stuff work and we know how it works, and publishers getting got to go through us because I know how things really work.
That's a good point.
And both of them losing that, essentially.
But you can't...
You know what I think it says, too, is that, and Mitchell Baker, the head of Firefox, the foundation, said here at Davos that, or actually up at the DLD, that the browser is outmoded now, just in the sense that we haven't seen any big changes in too long. And so maybe one of the impact of the Apple product is that it makes us rethink the browser and the web page.
Well, and that happened when the iPod Touch came out. Everything was application-based. But it does have a pretty full-featured browser minus Flash, which, frankly, I don't mind losing Flash.
Eric Schmidt here, when we asked him about the tablet and asked him whether they were going to have one, he said, "Somebody tell me the difference between a tablet and a big iPhone."
Well, there isn't, and that's the whole point.
I'm planning on making the tablet my new phone.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Which I've been on television.
You want to hold it to your ear?
Flavor Flav. I'm going to like big box.
Oh, you want to hang it around your neck?
Totally.
It's bling.
And I'm going to get to have different images on it all the time.
I handled it, and I loved it.
You know, because then when I have Wi-Fi, I can just have Skype because I hate AT&T. I'm trying to get away from them.
I thought it was a beautiful device.
So you're buying one, Leo, right?
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask because I have to buy everything. But I'm actually, and I think if I were well, I am a content creator, but I think content creators are going to be very interested in this. I think Amazon is going to have an interesting challenge. But remember, Amazon's not really in the Kindle business. They're in the book business. So in the long run,
right.
You know, it's interesting. Macmillan all of a sudden disappeared from the Amazon store yesterday. And the thinking is, oh, Macmillan's preparing to move to the iBook store. But if I were Amazon, I'd be meeting with Steve Jobs like crazy right now saying, well, let's work this out. We want to sell books on the iPad.
The night before the iPad was announced, God, I can't believe I said iPad. It's as bad as vlog and webinar.
Yeah, we're stuck with those too.
Amazon announced that they reversed their split on royalty share with publishers. They went from 30-70 to 70-30. And Paul Schreiber sent that to me. Thanks, Paul. And I did tweet it. I can look for the link from him. But it's like, well, you know, and I always thought that share was wrong. But
Heather, is that after cost to AT&T? What they've said about
that's an interesting point. But I don't know.
More than half the money goes to AT&T.
Wow.
And then Amazon was saying, well, we give you, the publishers, more than half of what's left.
No, Amazon put out a press release on their site saying that, not comparing themselves to the iPad, I'm merely saying I'm assuming they put the release out because of the iPad, that they reversed their split from 70-30 Amazon book holder to reverse 30-70.
So maybe Amazon is trying to hold on to the business. They also announced an SDK. They're encouraging developers to write third-party applications, which, well, Gina, as a developer, surely the Kindle is not the platform you can't wait to write for.
No.
I mean, come on.
I mean, it's a nice idea, but
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the only question that remains at all is it as comfortable to read on the iPad? And we won't know this for 2 months on the iPad as it is to read on the Kindle, because if it can
e-ink is the difference.
Yeah, but e-ink isn't that high contrast. It's solid.
I just hate looking at a bright screen. A backlit screen is just hard on the eyes.
Okay, so that's the real question.
I do think that the iPad with the Kindle app and Instapaper would be a much better kind of browsing experience. And I can't, as much as I have a lot of problems with it, I can't wait to hold it and try it as well. And I'm sure it's
a beautiful
fantastic
thing to hold.
Experience.
It's an amazing thing to hold. I have to say that.
So what about you two? Are you going to buy it?
It won't be quite as comfortable to read on the eyes as the Kindle.
Yeah. So, well, we don't know, but that's the question. Don't you read on the LCD all day?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I don't want to look at a screen anymore.
Right.
I want to pick up my Kindle or look at the paper because my eyes are done.
I see.
So Jeff's question, would you buy it?
I'm not sure yet. I don't think I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go to the store and check it out. I mean, to me, the iPad is just this, it's just a giant iPod Touch.
Would you buy it if it had Android on it?
Yes.
Ah, interesting.
Yes, I would.
Well, see, that's where I think Google goes too, is that Schmidt here in Davos emphasized that the strategy is entirely to get as many devices out there as possible, and then the audience for it will lead to application development. And he said the phone is the applications.
Yep, and that's true. And and the reason why I would get it if it had Android on it is because my issue with it is that Apple decides what you can run on the device. So Apple decides that you can't get a porn app, and Apple decides that you can't get Google Voice on your iPhone, and maybe Apple's going to decide that you can't run the Kindle app because they've got their own bookstore. They haven't done that, but they could, Apple decides, right? And it's a device that's just like not that customizable. It's not OS 10. I don't know. Maybe everyone was like, well, why is everybody surprised that it's so closed? This thing is a computer, and I thought that maybe there's a possibility that it would run full-on OS 10 versus this kind of lockdown iPhone operating system.
Do you think someone can make it run OS 10? I'm not as
or Android.
As you are.
How about running Android?
Or running Android. With the custom chip that they developed in-house.
Yeah.
It will be much more difficult.
That's probably why they did it.
I think I have a lot of faith in our hackers. I do believe many
it'll be
things
jailbroken right away.
It will be jailbroken. Although I'm hearing that custom chip will make jailbreaking difficult, and it could be a while.
Now,
and Apple goes out of their way to unjailbreak.
Right.
With every software update, your device gets unjailbroken, and that takes time and effort. Like they don't want people to jailbroke. They make
otherways known as rejailing.
Effort to do that.
Rejailing.
Yeah, rejailing.
Is that what it's called?
Exactly.
I love
I'm
that.
just calling it that now.
I like it.
No,
I've been rejailed.
They jail
Is this where the iPhone goes then? I mean, are they going to have the jailbreak-proof chip?
I mean, well, I feel like them developing a chip in house is a significant thing for them to do.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of reasons why they may have. Maybe they needed a chip that was fast enough that could handle multitasking, right? Because it's one of the big reasons, that Android, big thing that Android can do, the iPhone can't do. Did they do it to prevent jailbreaking? I mean, did they do it so that they can offer something different that anybody else could possibly offer because it has Apple, proprietary hardware?
Supposedly, it's ARM code. It's an A9. It's a custom ASIC part with the A9 Cortex on it, or ARM chip on it, and a custom GPU on it. But really, I think you hit the nail on. I mean, it's not so very different than, say, a Snapdragon or the Tegra. In fact, it's a lot like a Tegra 2. But Apple controls what code can be run on it. So I think it's really, I think you probably hit the nail on the head that the real reason for a custom chip is not performance, but control.
Control.
Wow. That's
all
big
said,
news, right,
I would
Gina?
have thought, I don't know, Gruber, I mean, not like you'd say everything, but he's mostly writing about performances first.
We didn't know about the chip, and it's only lately that that's started to leak out. And it's not coming from Apple, and it may not be true even, but it's but some bloggers are saying, oh, well, there's one blogger, I'll see if I can find the link to it, who says I talked to the Foundry, and they said, yeah, this is the A9 in here. So Apple's being very cagey. Apple's not saying. All they're saying is we designed it.
That's not fun.
This all said, I just want you all to know that I'm going to do my best to get my book in the iBookstore. So, as a publisher,
well, and think about this.
I am going to do that.
Think about this, Gina. Now, not only is it a book, but it's a book that can have video and audio and multimedia. It's a much richer experience.
It's a Harry Potter book.
It could come alive.
It can come alive. So it's the EPUB format, right? But it's with lockdown. So EPUB is an electronic book standard, right? A pretty open standard, from what I understand. I'm just gotten into this whole electronic book publishing thing, so I don't know a whole lot. But from what I understand, that there will be DRM, so you will only be able to read the book on your iPad, or I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of limit to the number of devices you can read it on.
EPUB doesn't require DRM.
No, it doesn't. But Apple is going to include DRM
if you sell it in the iBook store.
If you sell it in the iBook store, right? So does EPUB support multimedia then? It supports video, and that's fantastic. Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
That's pretty cool.
So as much of a problem as I have with it being sort of a closed platform, and as much as I don't, want to have a device where Apple decides what I can run on it, and what I can't, as a publisher, I am going to put my book in the bookstore because people are going to buy it.
It's going to bring so many more people to digital books. I mean, maybe I'm the most pedestrian one, probably of the four of us, but I'm probably going to get it. But my thinking is, I got the iPhone so early, and I'm really hoping my contract's done soon. And once that happens, I might just go back to this other phone and use that for everything else. Because when I travel, for no other reason, it is like I travel a ton, and the idea of carrying something that's 1 pound around is 1.5 pounds.
Okay,
nice.
Do you travel with a laptop too?
Yeah, I travel with this MacBook Pro, and I love this computer, but I really would like to limit my weight on me.
So what if you have to do a long email or something?
I'd get that little docky thing.
Really?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm pretty good on the phone. Like, I have teeny-weeny hands, but
it's pretty type. It's better than the phone. It's pretty typeable.
I'm sure it would be better than the phone.
I mean, it's got the keys are almost the same size.
But also,
as
I'd
the
want to try
keys.
the physical little thing where it stands on the little stand, and I would type because I can see I write a lot in airplanes, and I could see that as a really nice little simple way for me to do just basic writing. I mean, I wouldn't be doing video editing on it. But
it's my guess that people who want a laptop out of it are going to be a little disappointed that it's not quite there yet. On the other hand, Apple clearly thinks so because they're offering pages, numbers,
I think
and
for a lot of people's use of a laptop, I don't know what the ergonomic experience will be, but it'll be sufficient because I think most people don't use.
They don't use much.
Not maybe, probably people on the Twitter are me, but I certainly could think of lots of people who don't use it. Hi, let me show you my slide deck.
Right.
God, I mean, unfortunately, I have more slide decks. That's unfortunate.
Leo, how does the file system work? Like with iWork, if you launch it on the iPad and you create a file, then what? Do you email it to yourself? Do you sync it with iTunes? What is that like?
It's very unclear, and it doesn't appear to have an accessible file system.
There's no explore. You can't look at your file system. You can't browse your file system.
But nor does the iPod Touch.
Like the way iTunes, you'll control the system.
It's really, as far as I can tell, it's running iPhone 3.2. It is an iPod Touch with a big screen.
Right. So, but you're creating files in iWork.
Yeah, you're clearly creating files somewhere. Now, it may be, remember, Apple has a cloud solution for its iWork already.
Does it?
Yeah, and in fact, it works.
Not Mobile Me.
No, it works quite well. So it's possible that they will support that. I would expect them to support
Mobile
that.
Me? They have a separate cloud solution.
Well, maybe it's linked to Mobile Me, but if you use iWork, you could just say, I want to save this up to the cloud and share it. And it works quite well. You can share it. You can have it accessible to yourself.
Ryan
so maybe,
in the chat room says when you connect iPad to Mac PC, you get a file system mount point with shared docs.
How does he know
interchange
that?
with iPad apps via Gruber.
I wonder how Gruber knows that. We didn't really. I mean, we got to play with it. We didn't get to connect it to anything. So
he just touched it, and his mind knew everything that was in the device.
Well, there are questions in that. They're going to have to solve that. And certainly, you could probably sync it. You know, to me, it seemed very odd that Apple released these 3 applications and a keyboard, because that seemed counter to me to what this device natively is, which is a content consumption device.
Yeah, it sounds like it doesn't know what it is.
Then that's a mistake. If Apple, I think Jobs made some mistakes. He shouldn't have mentioned netbooks, because it's not where he should have mentioned the Kindle more than the netbook. He shouldn't have made these applications, because that implies that it's a computer. I don't even know if it should have had email. It's really a content consumption device.
But what about all the people who like really cheap computers, who use them unbelievably simply for a little bit of word processing?
Maybe,
mostly,
yeah.
I think for those people, it's a less expensive laptop where Apple competes with other companies that had less expensive laptops.
Yeah. I think the $499 price point is a key part of it, because if any more than that, it's too much.
They're seriously in the content business in a big way, to me.
That's to me.
You're right.
They
That's
want to be in the content. They're going to replace the interface for the television. I mean, I've known they wanted to work. I mean, I did some work with Tony Fadell, who helped make the iPod happen at the startup before he went to Apple, and it's one of the things I know he's been thinking about for an awfully long time, and I know he's left Apple, but I'd be very surprised if they weren't thinking about, how do I get the main interface to all of this programming? Because that's going to be a tremendous point of business control. Just tremendous. And frankly, the interface from Comcast and every other company is so horrible that it's a big opportunity. So that's my just entertainment background sense of the device.
No, I'm with you, and I think that's when the device explodes, is when all these content companies start building. You may not, Gina, you may not want to publish a book in the iBook store. You might want to make a complete Google Wave application instead. A lot of publishers do that, which will give you a lot more control. And by the way, look at the kind of ecosystem Apple has built recently. You can have in-store, in-application sales. So games do that now. They'll sell levels within the application. You never have to exit the application to buy another level. Apple,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of capability here that I think content creators are just going to die to get involved in.
And it makes the form of content you work in more malleable, because we've had, Jeff, the entertainment businesses traditionally had all these separate revenue windows, and they've done it by having it be a separate form, and they've been very attached to the form. It's a book, it's a CD-ROM, it's a whatever. And now, because right away, even the publishing itself has multimedia within it, you're already shifting your content experience past those static forms. So I think it has. I think that matters.
I think you're right, Heather. But it also increases the cost of creating content. It was no big deal to add a little something.
Well, wait a minute, though. But there's no dead trees and no trucks and no. Doesn't it reduce the cost of content?
More creative. So you make a movie, and you make it for DVD, and you add some scenes. You make a book, and you
but
right now
you make something
new. You're expected to add stuff.
Isn't the cost of the New York Times only 35% of the cost of the New York Times is actual editorial?
But that's also.
But what I'm saying is, that when you add the need to create that content in another format, you have increased the cost of the content.
Well, I can tell you
the New York Times does video online, and they never did that before when they were just a newspaper, that kind of thing.
Right.
And but they're going to save all this money on dead trees. Doesn't that pay for it?
That's a separate issue. What I'm saying is that this doesn't eliminate the dead trees yet. I think it'll happen, but it doesn't eliminate that. But it does increase your cost of content. So you make something for the paper, then you make it for the web, and now there's this new, richer experience, and you have to make it for that.
No, what I'm saying, Jeff, is I think we changed the production process, which I think has slowly been happening, which is you don't iterate. You make the stuff more all at once. The production process shifts. I don't think it's we made one item and then we shift everything into separate forms.
You're right about that.
I think the creation process
changes. You're going to have new expertise and new thought through this, And I think that what we're going to see at first is shovelware, so everybody will be underwhelmed.
Right.
And then somebody will come along and do wowie stuff, but then you got to hire people to do the wows.
That might be the big risk for Apple here is shovelware, because that's what killed CD-ROMs. People were not willing as content creators to innovate, and it completely killed the format. And I could kill the iPad if content creators don't step up and say we're going to take advantage of this medium.
But the difference is between CD-ROM and this is, think of all the the iPhone app makers. There's a lot more room if you're letting all the independent filmmakers, all the people that whatever I see at South by who are already making more transmedia kind of forms, who are making films that involve gaming with the film, that involve like book elements, and you create
but your
that
audience
mode.
for all that stuff is much larger, Heather.
I'm just saying that the competition doesn't only come from HarperCollins and the other big publisher. It also comes from independent creators.
Yeah,
who have a much faster way to distribute than they ever did with CD-ROM, right next door, like on the same screen, in the same shelf space as so-called shelf space as the next, publisher. So and with more of a sense of, I think that kind of linear model is still in the mentality of publishing better than me. But from what I know, the entertainment business, they're still very slow to think. They think across synergies.
Absolutely.
In terms of objects.
Look, that's why they talk about this desire for this serial experience again, that they can put out their magazine. It's basically the new PDF.
But if they were creating transmedia from the beginning, it would be a different process. And I'm not saying it's simple, but I know I spent 5 years on my own talk show trying to develop a kind of shoot once, run anywhere model. I mean, it's weak and it's small and it's indie. But I think if you had a little more resource, and studios certainly do, there are ways to do it. There are ways to create. If you put a little more time and money up front in the creation, then you've got it. You can make, the app piece of it that lets you upgrade. And the social gaming possibilities, to me, of this device are pretty awesome.
Be better if it had multitasking.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the only. No, it's the first thing I thought of, too. And it kind of bugs me because it's almost like going back to DOS where you can only do one thing at a time.
What if you make an app that puts multiple things in the app?
You'd have to do it that way. In fact, that's how we would, if we did a Twit app for it, that's what we would do. You'd have, because I'd like to have chat at the same time as you're watching or listening.
Right.
But in order to do that, you'd have to make an app that has it all built in. You can't just kind of have one going in the background while the other's going.
But then at least you'd see it all.
It's not ideal. I wonder if the reason there's no multitasking is because it needed to be compatible with the iPhone and the iPod Touch, and they don't. And for good reasons, they don't support it. I mean, when you have such a limited device, I crashed my Nexus 1, Gina, today.
Really?
Well, I was trying to listen to a podcast, and Listen hadn't downloaded it. So I put Dogcatcher on there, and it started downloading in the background, and it used up all the CPU cycles. And I couldn't dial the phone. I couldn't do anything to the phone. I rebooted it, and I had to kind of quickly before Dogcatcher launched its task, get in there and uninstall. I mean, it took me 45 minutes before the phone was functional again.
Really? So when it crashed, it just froze completely, and it only responded to the power button, or was there some sort of?
So you push the application button, and the application slowly.
Oh wow!
It was so tied up, and this is the problem with multitasking: is you've got these very limited processors with very limited RAM, and it's hard for them to do more than one thing at a time. And when it's a phone, I think it's okay to say the phone has to be able to work as a phone all the time. It cannot be tied up. But when it's a pad, then I think it's okay to have multitasking because, first you have a little more RAM, presumably you have a little more power, and maybe you don't need to be so concerned.
But get out of mobile think. So Heather's sitting there on her couch. She's using this device, and she's got Bluetooth headset on, and it's her phone.
Well, that's...
Pad,
yeah, right on.
It's your desk. It's still a phone then.
Why do I need both? I mean, I do for when I don't have Wi-Fi, but when I have Wi-Fi, I'd be really happy for it to be my phone.
Well, presumably they'll allow Skype on it, and it does have a microphone.
That's why I want there to be a camera. I do tons of video chat.
Well, I'm sure version 2 will have a camera.
Version 2 will have it too.
Heather will be doing podcasts with you, Leo, on her new pad.
You know what? It could be
totally.
We could rename it the Padcast.
And I'll be running around the neighborhood so you can get a tour while I do it.
Are you ready for Padcasting?
Podcasting.
I hated podcasting. I can't even imagine calling it a Padcast.
Pone. I'm going with the iPhone.
iPoned.
The question, the multitasking thing, I mean, this is a computer science problem, which has existed since, for decades at this point. This isn't a new issue. We're just dealing with limited resources again. It became less of an issue when you had really powerful desktop computers.
Right.
It seems like, I have to say, if your Nexus 1 froze like that and couldn't recover itself, didn't know well enough to kill the process on its own or whatever, that's just bad design. I mean, it should know that if it's slowed down to that point, it took you 45 minutes to get it back into a functional state. That's just unacceptable.
I agree.
Definitely.
I agree.
And the iPhone, when something crashes on the iPhone, it just shuts, just closes, right? Like the process, just closes, which is also kind of weird because it doesn't give you an error message or whatever, but at least you don't
lose phone functionality, and that's the kind of the key to the whole thing. And I can understand why it needs to be that way, but I don't understand on a pad. But unless you're starting to now use it for communications,
I don't know that I would, and I think once they put a video camera in it,
well, that's going to be the Maxi Pad. That's the next generation.
Pad. Oh, you've already named it. Great.
Can we just go back to the name thing?
It's a little offensive.
Why is it offensive?
Maybe not because. Go ahead, Gina. Take it away, Gina.
All the jokes have been made, right? I just want to make it really, really clear to all our male listeners. I don't want there to be any doubt in anyone's mind. Like when an American woman hears the word pad, she thinks maxi pad, and crunch pad is okay, and think pad is okay because like the first word is the focus of the word, but iPad is pretty much all pad. So women associate the word pad with maxi pad. So what amazes me is that there was this like meeting of like Apple's marketing department, and they decided that they were going to take the risk of having 50% of their market associate this device with a maxi pad. And like someone said,
I had no idea.
The offensiveness, you guys, is never, and this is true to me of most things that people call sexist or racist. Well, I shouldn't say speak for racism, but it's not like the thing in of itself is that horrible. It's that it's clear that you ignored these people and you never considered them as though they were part of, and they clearly weren't in the room or couldn't say anything in the room.
No, it's funny.
Well, what's the Barnes & Noble ebook they called again?
The Nook e-reader.
Nookie?
Right, and so again, they didn't ask in a teenager.
Right, and hey, the
Wii at heart,
and the Wii.
The Wii, but this is the thing. Like the Wii is kind of a goofy name that maybe 3-year-olds use to describe, their private parts. The Nook is kind of like also a teenager. Pad is it's not a good. Women just don't have good. I have a hard time writing about it. Like I don't want to write it.
Let's give it another name.
No, it's funny. My wife and daughter said the same thing to me yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's true. A guy doesn't leap to mind. It's funny because you'd think a guy would be more offended by it than a woman. I don't understand.
The offense is not that it's bad that you mention something
menstruation.
I mean, I don't care about that. It's the business. It's the ignoring people in the process and acting as though you're not going to buy it, nor were you going to name it. It's not the.
But women wouldn't avoid it because of the name, right? You wouldn't not buy it.
Women
but it lets you know that they ignored you and they thought you weren't really part of the whole thing. It's like.
Well, can I say just in defense?
It's like Hooters is not named for me to go. Well, maybe me, but I don't.
But can I say in their defense, it's not. It wasn't. It was they just didn't know. We didn't know.
Why were there no women in?
There are no women. Yeah. That's a bigger complaint.
That's what I'm talking about.
But
that's what Gina's in the marketing department. Someone would have put the brakes on it. This is the thing that's so incredible to me is that I think it's one of the biggest marketing faux pas that Apple has ever made. It's kind of amazing because they're so good at marketing, and then they're pretty good at names. I mean, the I thing is getting a little old, but for the most part, it's worked. And I think that their marketing is always just absolutely pristine and perfectly straight on. But woo. This was bad.
Steve Jobs, when Walt Mossberg asked him about it, Steve's response, and it's on video. Kara Swisher was there with a flip camera, and his response was, people hated iPod too. They'll get over it. They'll get used to it. They'll incorporate it. I think there's a real cluelessness.
Well, they will, but it also doesn't relate to. I mean, it was a long time ago I was at Apple, but it definitely wasn't that gender savvy back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's,
and at some point, it goes to a company being open. And
good point.
As antithetical as it is to think so, to release the names beforehand and be clued in by their users. Gina, you would have been right on it saying, are you nuts?
Right.
Spider in our chat room says he's developing a stylus for the iPad called the Tempen.
Tempen?
Here we go.
So I hadn't heard that one anyway. That's a new one. There aren't that many new jokes, though.
I said the pricing model was light, medium, heavy. I mean, sorry, it's just never ending story.
So there's two issues here. One is that. The other bigger real issue is, are there actually no women? But do we know that there are no? I know there are women in the marketing department at Apple. Maybe they don't have any clout.
I haven't been there in a while, long enough to know. I mean, Katie Cotton used to run the
Katie Cotton's
PR.
still there.
She's still there? I worked with her. Okay, that's how long she's been there. Yeah, but it's one thing to work there. It's another to have any real input that someone listens to.
That's the question.
And
were there any women on stage at that event?
No.
When is Apple? I ask you, everybody out there who loves Apple, including me, when have you seen a woman on stage for Apple? Never.
You never.
Not for Apple, but a partner was on stage.
Which partner?
Her name, she was terrible, by the way. That's why I remember her. She was with Sprint or one of the other people, and she was a partner when the iPhone announcement. They had a woman on stage.
It's just sad.
But that's one woman in 4 years. So.
It's pathetic. I don't know that there's ever been a
Roz
senior...
Ho. Thank you. It was Roz Ho.
When has there been a senior woman executive at the top?
She was with Microsoft Business Unit.
At Apple. Other than, well, I guess PR. I mean, Katie's pretty high.
Okay.
Google, you see quite a few.
Yeah. Marissa Meyer would never have allowed
Meyer,
this.
start with.
It would have occurred to her.
Marissa Meyer would have stopped this dead. I'm sure.
She's probably
early.
laughing.
This is just my prediction. I would love to ask her about it, but
she's probably laughing.
Anyway,
but it's just the name. Come on, right? I mean, it's just the name.
It's just the name. I'll totally get over it. And I'm not gonna. We don't ever have to talk about it again.
Gina,
but
you're gonna call it your tablet or something else?
I mean, when I write about it, I call it the iPad because when people Google the iPad, I want them to find the right things on my site. But it's just one of those things where I just think it's important. There are a lot of jokes, and people are saying, well, it's not that bad. It looks like
you made the right point, Gina. That is the point.
That's the point. And so I'm over it. And maybe we will get used to it. Maybe I won't ever think about it again. But for right now, it really felt like, wow, this is a really big mistake.
And my wife and daughter, who are not in the tech industry and don't really care about it, had that immediate reaction as well.
And
so
that's what they're trying to sell.
I think it's going to be a universal reaction. So
yeah, pretty much.
It's a pretty big, strange thing.
What else? I don't want to. I could talk about the iPad forever.
Well, Jeff doesn't have a number, but Jeff was, in lieu of a number, Jeff was going to take us downstairs to see the party. You want to do that?
No way.
Yeah, let's try it. He's on a laptop.
Right,
Jeff.
The big gala is going on.
Talking while I'm walking.
He's missing the big Davos gala right now.
Is Angelina Jolie down there?
Oh, I'm sure she is.
No, there's no stars this year.
No stars. Not even Robert Scoble?
No stars. No. Charlie Rose, I think, is probably the biggest.
Oh, he's a star.
That's pretty much it.
He's a star.
This is cool.
There's
really?
an adjective that goes into that name.
This is, yes, I know the word. I may have dropped out earlier at Yale, but I know the word. So
you were smart.
I think we could do every show walking. So
I know, I love this.
It's really cool. I love that. Oh, wow.
This is something you cannot do.
This is what you're missing, people, by not running a Fortune 100 company, if that's not
or being a blogger. Jeff Serra's a blogger.
You're so dressed up,
Okay, I'm
Jeff.
going downstairs in a second.
I'm still adjusting to him with a tie.
I could take you by the YouTube booth. Here is the South African swag we're going to get.
Oh,
it's a 2 gig thumb drive.
That's
I don't know what that has to do with South Africa.
Oh, there'll be press materials on it. That's what it has.
Okay, well, probably. I'm going down the stairs into the main conference room, trying not to fall on my ass doing so. Okay, here we are in the main party.
Wow. Look at that
We're on the
headdress.
internet.
Wow. We're on the internet.
You're from here, South Africa, yeah? What's your name? Tibisu. So you're on a podcast called This Week in Google.
Jeff, you're going to have to hold the microphone up to him. Unfortunately, we can't really hear him.
Okay, thank you very much. We're just three of us at the party. Almost ran into a delegate.
There's an ice sculpture of an ibex,
Here's
I think.
Food.
How white is the party, Jeff?
I can't hear you.
She wanted to know how white the party was. How white is the party?
Here's a gentleman painting
Oh, that's pretty.
Nice.
a wall.
That's neat.
Really nice.
Okay. You want me to go into the hip room where the rock music is?
Yeah, let's see if you can find Eric or Sergey or Larry.
You know what I want, Jeff? Here, let's have some fun. Please find a venture capitalist or a very leading politician and make them dance with you for us, please.
There was video of Bill Gates dancing. I don't remember.
That's
where
awesome.
It was pretty funny.
I want to see that.
I've danced with Bill Gates. He does
no way.
He does the white man at Comdex. He does the white man's underbite. Yep.
You've danced with Bill Gates.
I have. Well, not next to him, parallel dancing. I didn't I wasn't
you want
holding
too much
him.
manly affection.
Yeah, no.
We just lost Jeff's connection.
Oh.
Leo, I would have paid a lot of money to see you dancing in parallel next to my Bill Gates. I really, really would have. That would have been a highlight. Just the fact that happened at all, I'm getting such pleasure from thinking about that.
Oh, can I show you? This is how he dances, and I'm not kidding.
Do it. No way.
It is totally the white guy's overbite.
Oh, he totally. It was, and he kind of had his butt stuck out, and.
Oh, nice.
I think there's new video of him dancing, though. I remember seeing this on the internet recently.
Yes,
it was at Sundance. It was at Sundance. He partied at Sundance.
What is he doing at Sundance?
Well, he's a philanthropist now. Probably couldn't get an invite to Davos. I don't know.
Oh gosh.
I want to find the Bill Gates dancing.
Gina, can I ask you a question? How do you feel about how much people in this Twit army like you?
They adore Gina.
They adore you, and it's not in this kind of gross. You're a pinup girl.
No.
Kind of way.
She's respected.
They have mad respect for you.
Yeah.
I really feel like
I think you're a little jealous, actually.
I just feel like I could never measure up to you. I know that. I geek it too.
That is very sweet. I'm deeply, deeply honored and privileged. And the feeling is mutual.
Aww.
Everyone.
Everybody loves everybody here.
So let me ask you a question. So if Twitter said, we're going to have you be in this, Vanity Fair said, we're going to do this article, will you compose naked in a raincoat and high heels?
Oh, no, she'd never do that.
Would you do that?
Here's Bill Gates.
Vanity Fair would never. Oh, nice. Bill Gates dancing on screen. That's fantastic.
It's not a video, but a multi-shot.
That's fantastic.
Better.
Yeah, it looks like he's playing air guitar. I'm afraid. Yeah.
Heather, I can assure you, Vanity Fair will never ask me to get naked into a raincoat. I don't.
Did they do that to somebody else recently?
We talked about it in Tummlevision. They did a piece a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I saw that.
Twelebrity, where they picked a bunch of women with large follower numbers, including Felicia Day, and
there's a weight ceiling on that, which I am well above. To be very quite honest.
Yeah, I thought that was completely horrible.
Yeah, and I think that kind of caused this big response in the social media blogging world, which I try not to dip into too much. But it was kind of weird, and it was a very disparaging piece about Twitter, the platform in general. Just kind of people talk, the same old thing.
Yeah,
it's Vanity Fair. What'd you expect?
Right.
Deep thought.
Well, then they had a larger piece on, oh God, who was it the next week? Let It Not Be Ashton Kutcher. Somebody... Anyway, it'll come back to me. Kevin Rose? Somebody was showing me. I think it was... No, I'm sorry. I'm mixing it with Fast Company. Web 2.0 did a kind of hunky picture.
Okay,
is he back?
Got Jeff back, yeah.
I'm back. I'm in the YouTube booth.
Ooh.
Sorry, the Wi-Fi ended on the way to the hit party.
That's okay. Now Jeff is...
See anything or not?
Yeah, we got a great view.
All right, good.
This is Jeff Jarvis in Davos, Switzerland.
Now I'm in a chair that swivels so I can make you all...
I'm getting sick! This is how James Cameron did Titanic, actually.
This is great. You're taping something that's going to be on YouTube eventually.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jeff Jarvis dances. Bite your lower lip and you got it made. Well, we're going to wrap this up with our usual tip of the week and tool of the week. We won't do number of the week because Jeff doesn't.
Got a party instead.
Jeff is we got a party instead. That's right. Although I think I bookmarked something that I thought you might use for a number. Let me see if I can find that. What was it? Oh, well. I don't remember off the top of my head. Gina, what's your tip of the week?
Okay, my tip this week, I'm giving this a little blind because I haven't used an iPhone in a while, but my tip this week is for Google Voice users who are using the new web app on the iPhone. I had Greg from DC wrote me and said that a really good thing to do with the Google Voice web app is that you can actually bookmark contacts and put them on your iPhone's home screen. And so that gives you access if you want to search for a contact from your quick search box, or if there are certain people who you call over and over with Google Voice. Since it's a web app and not, a native app, it's not integrated with your contacts on your iPhone. But you can, if you bookmark a contact, each contact has a a permalink, you can just tap that person and initiate a call through Google Voice easily. So thanks to Greg for sending that one in, and I hope someone will correct me if that doesn't work as advertised.
That's great, though. That gives you like 90% of the functionality you'd want to get in a Google Voice app. It'd be nice to have my voicemail and all that.
That's the extension, the Chrome extension?
No, it's
it's for an iPhone.
On the iPhone, you can just add it to your home screen. Add it, if there's one contact that you call a lot.
And was it Google that did this?
Yeah, this is Google's. This is just the google.com/voice, just the web app.
Right.
If you visit it on the iPhone, it's a brand new overhauled interface that they just launched this week.
Fantastic. So they're suggesting in the chat room that a number for Jeff would be 270. That's how much it costs, according to one Wall Street analyst, to build an iPad. So
thank you, chat room.
That's a good number. That means they have $200 of profit built into each and every one. That ain't bad. I find that a little hard to believe because I think Apple's
We'll see the teardown soon. I mean, don't forget there's development money that went into the chip.
Right. Good point. But not just the chip, the whole thing. They've been working on this since 2003.
All the money they spent coming up with the name, that was expensive.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was expensive. That branding guy. Boy, he cost a lot of money.
Wait till you find out that it was a woman who did it.
Oh, let's have her on.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. So here we are sitting around saying, this guy didn't even have a girlfriend.
Well, let's be honest, there are always people who will kind of work against their own interests. So I know in Hollywood I worked with plenty of women who are happy to advocate tarting stuff up in bizarre ways. So it's possible that a woman theoretically could have done it in an odd way. But
I think, by the way, the use of the word tarting is offensive to tarts. So can you cut that out?
Sorry, strawberries and cream.
Here's another number, one more number. This is from Eric Schmidt, and it comes from an article in the City Herald City University of London. The prospect that Google's business in China might not reach his 5th birthday must be particularly difficult for Eric Schmidt. As Google's chief executive, he claimed to have, and here's our number, 5,000 years of patience for Google's business in China. That's about as long as China's been around.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Couple of numbers there, see? And finally, yes, my tip is a Google Friend Connect tip. I use Friend Connect on my blog. I think it's kind of cool. It allows, in fact, I'll show you my blog at leoville.com. It allows people to sign up and become your friends, I guess. It adds some social to a blog. So it's a little widget you can put on your blog, and I have 1,100 members of the blog. But there's you can sign in and so forth, and you get avatars. But here's a new feature. It also, in fact, if I should sign in because it'll show it on my blog. It also now allows you. Oh, don't look. I'm going to enter my password here. You didn't actually have to look away. That's okay. Heather looked away. I thought that was very sweet of you. So now, if you go to your blog and you have Google Friend Connect on it, it says, find out more about your visitors' interests. Perhaps not the best language Google should have used, but what it is a poll.
Well, I like that they didn't assume they're your friends. That's kind of nice.
So you can now add a poll gadget to your Google Friend Connect. And this is kind of nice. So basically, just by embedding Google's Friend Connect into my blog, I now have the ability to add polls.
That is nice.
I can ask them all sorts of stuff, basic questions about location and gender. I could say, what's your gender? Do you like the name iPad, for instance?
And they resell this data to everyone.
Oh.
I'm sure they do.
Never mind.
Sorry.
Forget I mentioned it.
I'm sorry. I spent some time with a friend who does all this SEO crap the other day.
You think they really use that?
From what he told me, yeah, like they sell not only stuff based on what people purchase or click through on your site. There's a lot of tracking the cookies of who comes through and then running crazy algorithms. Who knows if it works? I don't know.
No,
but
you got a point.
They're finding out trends of who goes where, and there's like multiple levels of sales of so-called marketing traffic data. So I'm sorry, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
So,
I like
this is what, for instance, if I just added that poll, congratulations, Leo. When they join, you've just joined Leoville. Let others know more about you. What's your gender?
If you want to be PC, you add another dot.
I should add a third.
Pick your own.
Choice, your choice.
Yeah.
Unknown.
Take your choice.
GLBTQS349.
There are so many genders at this point, Leo. When I perform in the alphabet community,
it's so confusing.
I just let everyone pick their own. Who
pick
knows?
your own. You know what?
You could be a Cylon. You could be whatever.
We're postmodern here. We don't have gender.
You may not have one.
Gender's
you may have multiple.
Arcane concept.
You may be trans.
Cylon is a good
Cylon.
choice.
I'm Cylon. I want to.
Why not?
Okay, you know what?
Put that as an option.
I'm adding Cylon to my poll. That's fantastic. But, of course, when you do that, 99%
Everyone.
pick Cylon.
Can they get to add their own option in there?
Sure. I can add all sorts of stuff. Oh, you mean they add their own?
Yeah, I like that in polls where you can give an option for people to input more descriptively.
It's actually, I was very impressed. It's a very sophisticated polling widget that actually gives you more capabilities than, so you can add text, paragraph text, multiple choice, checks boxes, choose from a list. It's a very flexible polling widget. I really like it. It's nice. So that's my tool of the week if you want to add polls and you're already using Google Friend Connect, or if you're not using Google Friend Connect, you might want to take a look at it. This way, all your friends' information will be known by Google. Why should they have any more privacy than you do? Think about it. Gina Trapani is the creator of smarterware.org. That's her blog, but she also is seen in many other venues, including, of course, the Harvard Business Review. We won't hold that against her, Heather. And
she's the coolest thing on the Harvard
Life
Business
Hacker.
Review.
Yeah, she is.
Pretty much.
And in a raincoat or out, we all love her. Thanks.
Thank you, Leo.
CompleteWaveGuide.com is where the book is. Jeff Jarvis did yeoman duty, taking us to Davos, Switzerland in the middle of the night. Yeah, everybody's tired. Everybody's gone home. The YouTube booth's empty.
Yep.
There's nobody there. Well, go ahead and flip the switch and just do something funny. Do something weird on YouTube. They left the server up. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff's blog is buzzmachine.com. That's where you can see the full article on what he learned with his special, exclusive, super-duper meeting with Eric Schmidt and Marissa Meyer and the gang. And Heather Gold is a performer, a comic, and the host of Tunnel Vision here on the Twit Network. Is that every Tuesday
Every
night?
Thursday at 7.
Night. At 7 p.m.
Pacific Standard Time. And I actually have some are we allowed to plug at this point?
I just plugged them.
I have I'm doing a couple of workshops, one here in San Francisco. We've added a second one the 5th of February, and there's one March 27th in New York on presenting.com. Speaking skills, how to tumble, how to engage the room, how to be yourself in public. And
Unpresenting, you call it.
Yes, because half of it's unlearning.
That's great.
The bad crap that people think they have to do to get listened to. Don't try to be Steve Jobs. Just be you in public a little better. It works really well.
I've been reading a book called The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs, and I realize I can't.
I totally had an argument with that guy on Twitter. I think it's a giant mistake.
It's got good information, but you can't be Steve Jobs.
No, you can't. So it's a waste of time. Yep. Be you. He also cannot be you.
That's true.
Why assume that you don't? You may have some massively important thing. You certainly wouldn't have called your device the iPad, so you've got one up on him.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Heather. Great to have you. We'll catch you Thursday night on Tummel Vision on live.twit.tv.
Tummel with M's. I know it's a new weird word. We explain it on the show. It makes sense.
It's a Yiddish word. I like it.
It's a Yiddish word. It means, the act of social engagement, someone who mixes things up.
Yeah, and that's your expertise.
Yes, and we have lots of good. Kathy Sierra last week. She was awesome.
She's great. I think she's fascinating. Yeah.
And next week I have to tell you, I'm pretty excited. Allie Willis, who is an amazing songwriter. She wrote Earth, Wind, and Fire's Boogie Wonderland, September. She wrote Neutron Dance. She wrote The Color Purple's soundtrack. She wrote the theme song to Friends. And she's an incredible artist in multiple levels and has been doing online community stuff since super early days.
Wow.
And is a super infamous party thrower. I'm going to talk to her a lot about parties, and I think I'm going to go to one later this month. So she's pretty cool. I would tune in for her.
All this Facebook stuff really is just throwing a party, isn't it?
Yeah. How do you get everyone out to have a really good time? Actually, very much so. It's what you want, right? You want people involved and engaged.
Yeah. Well, that'll be fun. I can't wait to see that. She's got a cool site too.
She's got incredible stuff.
Wow.
Her site is so deep, it's insane.
Yeah.
AllieWillis.com.
Thanks for joining, ALLEE Willis.com. Thanks for joining us all. We appreciate it. We thank you for being here. You can watch live every Saturday afternoon at 2:15 Pacific, 5:15 Eastern Time. That's for Davos time. That's 11:15 at night.
It's late.
Late.
It's late.
Way late. Way too late for anybody of our age to be up, Jeff. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Take care.